Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Erin, I'm Queen Bee Tarot, and today I'm offering everyone a pick a pile reading. And the subject of today's tarot reading is, who was I in a past life? We're going to be looking at not only what kind of a person you were, but what sort of karmic lessons and challenges you were dealing with in a past life, and whether or not any of those karmic lessons and challenges have followed you through into this lifetime. We're going to be looking at what you mastered in the last life, and anything that you're still possibly struggling that has kind of brought itself as far as karmic challenges from your past life into the current life. And what I mean by that is, when we are looking at the concept of reincarnation and our souls go through multiple lifetimes, sometimes what happens is we have some sort of lesson, some sort of karmic challenge in one particular lifetime, and we may or may not master it. And if we don't reach a level of mastery or understanding with that particular karmic lesson or challenge, then what happens is it follows us into this current lifetime. I started my day thinking that I was going to do a different tarot reading, and this is what my guides asked me to put together for you guys. So I'm really excited to see how it turns out. We've got 4 piles for you guys to choose from. We have 4 different tarot decks that we're going to be looking at today, a combination of tarot decks and oracle decks, and I hope to give you guys some insight that is going to be timeless, so you can watch this reading anytime. Whenever this reading crosses your path, trust that it's the right time, and maybe you needed to hear these things today. So I do want to say that these are general readings. When I do a reading for each of these tarot card piles, they are general. I will be pulling through information, messages for the collective of each group of people that chose these cards. And what that means is that because a lot of general messages are going to come through, you may find that some of it resonates with you and maybe a little bit of it doesn't. That's okay. Take what resonates and leave the rest. So we have 4 piles for you guys to choose from, and I already, with my eyes closed, I have a card picked out for each of these. I haven't looked yet, so it's going to be a surprise for you and me. In our first pile here, we have Tiger's Eye. In our second pile here, we have a piece of turquoise. Pile number 3 is fluorite. And pile number 4 is an amethyst heart. I'll show you those again. Pile number 1 is Tiger's Eye. Pile number 2 is turquoise. Pile number 3 is fluorite. And pile number 4 is an amethyst heart. So pick whichever pile resonates with you, and I'll see you at your reading. Hi, pile 1. You chose the Tiger's Eye stone, and the first card that I have for you today is from the Everyday Witch deck. Now, what we're looking at today is, who were you in a past life? What kinds of lessons did you really master? What kind of lessons carried over from your past life into this one? And what additional messages from your guides and angels will help you live your best life and walk your highest path? Are you ready? So the first card that I pulled for you is the 10 of Swords. So the 10 of Swords, we have somebody pictured at the bottom of the card. They have swords piercing into them, and they're reaching for their sword to regain their power. We have an image of somebody running off. It appears to be the dark of the night, but the sun is rising. Now, when I see this card and I put it into the context of who were you in a past life, this is a very Caesar from Rome kind of vibe. You were someone who had a position of power, yet you were backstabbed, that you had many, many haters. And it's possible that your behavior, your choices brought on that aggression from other parties, and it's possible that you were completely undeserving. Let's find out. In a past life, why were my pile ones stabbed in the back? Ah. Okay, it is very, very Caesar from Rome energy. Now, someone watching this reading may have actually been Caesar from Rome. The famous story is of the Ides of March, in which Caesar, who was in power, was simultaneously stabbed by approximately 10 different people, very much like the Ten of Swords here. Now, obviously, not everyone watching this reading is going to have been Caesar in a former life, but the energy is very much the same. Pile one, you guys were definitely royalty of some sort. We have the King of Cups here, and there's a sense that you were untouchable, that you had perhaps even a castle with a moat around it. You were elevated above the average common person, and you also kept your feelings, your thoughts, your secrets to yourself. You were a very private and protected person. We definitely have a masculine energy coming through, but it does not necessarily mean that you were a male in a former life. You could have been a female in a position of royalty. Nonetheless, the energy is still the same, that you had a relatively isolated and protected lifestyle. You definitely lived a life of luxury, and quite possibly you lived by the ocean, on an island, or some sort of island nation that was close to the water. Now, what I had asked right here is, why did you get stabbed in the back? You were trying to grab the wheel of fate and turn it in your own personal direction. Whatever your position of leadership or royalty was, you definitely had vested interests in making sure that you yourself were looked after. That is also reflected with the Nine of Pentacles that I pulled here, showing that you definitely lived a life of luxury. Nine of Pentacles plus this King of Cups that represents isolation definitely tells me that you were a leader unto yourself. You did not share that position of leadership with anyone else. You were either unmarried or you were just simply a solo person in power. Nobody else was your peer. Nobody else shared that position of power with you. It was yours. We are also seeing with the Nine of Pentacles an implication that you came from a family of royalty, that money, that status, that power was simply handed to you, perhaps because you had a hereditary claim to the throne, something along those lines. So we definitely have signs that you lived alone, you lived a life of luxury, and you definitely called the shots when it came to ruling your people. Now, when I see this Wheel of Fortune, again, what I had asked was, why did you get stabbed in the back? And it's because everything that you did was to benefit yourself. That quite likely there was an uprising of the people. Whoever it was that you were ruling over decided that they were done with you and you were eliminated. And part of the reason that you received such a violent end to your life was that you were completely and totally disconnected from the needs, desires, and energy of the people that you were supposed to be in charge of. The Four of Swords here tells me that you were completely out of touch. You were, for example, locked away up in your castle, and just like in the French Revolution, how Marie Antoinette said about the peasants that were starving, she said, well, let them eat cake. A complete and total disconnect, that you didn't really understand the needs and the struggles of the people below you, that you enjoyed this life of luxury, and eventually the people rose up against you and took your life, took that position of power away from you. Really, really interesting stuff, pile one. So now what we're going to be looking at from this other deck that I have, and now I feel terrible. I'm going to I'm going to credit the author of this deck. When I finished this reading, my brain just completely forgot who the author or creator is of this. This is a deck that shows reversals. And the reason I pulled out this deck today is because I wanted to look at any karmic lessons that are carried over from your past life into this life. Anything that you didn't learn at that point is going to be brought up again and again in this lifetime until you learn it. So let's have a look. Spirit team, please tap me into the collective of my pile number ones and any karmic lessons from the last life that they're still struggling with. Okay, so Knight of Swords came up for you, as well as the Eight of Pentacles. Now, the Eight of Pentacles is really interesting because this is a card associated with the apprentice, the student, someone who has to start at the very, very bottom and learn and work their way up over many, many, many years. That in this lifetime, instead of having luxury or power or status handed to you, in this lifetime, you had to earn it every single penny, every single dollar, every single day of your life. You've had to learn and grow and start at the very bottom. And that's kind of what I was hoping to see with these decks, is that often when we have, for example, like you guys in a past life, luxury just handed to you, the karmic universal balance is in the next lifetime, you're going to start with nothing. And then we end up through both experiences, understanding every aspect of what it means to have our needs met, financially, physically, that sort of thing. Now, the Knight of Swords here is telling me that there is still a little bit of an element in this lifetime in which you get so wrapped up in what you're thinking or what you're perceiving that you may be blind or oblivious to additional information from the universe. So the Knight of Swords is when our stress or whatever our thought process is motivates us to making really hasty action, hasty decisions, kind of charging forwards like a train out of control, barreling down the tracks. Your mind runs away without you quite often. And if you get lost in your own perspective without stopping for a minute to ground yourself out, look around you, receive signals from the universe, receive messages from your peers or from your community, there's still an element that you're struggling with in this lifetime of either lacking situational awareness or simply just getting too stuck in your own head and in your own perspective. So really interesting to see. Yes, in this lifetime, you've had to really work for your money instead of having it handed to you. But that's the karmic exchange, right? Now, at the bottom of this deck, I have the Magician and the Ace of Pentacles. So what this means is that in the beginning of your life, what you've had to do is kind of come to terms with, maybe it's memories of being stabbed in the back. Maybe early in your life, you had a lot of negative social or business interactions in which you felt people were out to get you. All of those would have been useful information, bringing you to a place of hopefully reflecting on, what am I missing? What messages am I missing? What information am I missing? How can I possibly expand my perspective or my awareness to be able to see the bigger picture instead of being so lost in what you want in a moment or in a part of your life? So at the bottom of the deck here, like I said, we've got the Magician, which is manifestation, but also being relatively selfish, saying, I want, I have, I feel, I need, right? And the Ace of Pentacles, which is a sense that you are being reborn in a lot of ways. This is a lifetime of completion for you. There's definitely a focus on money, and perhaps even lessons of worthiness. So some concepts for you to think about or reflect on are, when and where are you possibly behaving in a way that is entitled? Or when and where are you possibly behaving in a way that is either selfish or simply just a very laser-like focus on what you want, and in doing so, perhaps trampling over other people's needs or not being aware of the bigger picture. So really interesting stuff coming through for you guys, pile one. In the next deck, what we're going to be looking at is, what is your exit door? What sort of level of completion or awareness or mastery of a karmic lesson? What is your exit door that's going to show you that you're done with this particular cycle or done with this particular karmic challenge? Okay, my guides are saying that that's it. Oh, interesting. Okay, the card that I pulled for you guys from the Shaman's Dream Oracle is First Breath, Beginner's Mind. It is also 21, and in the traditional tarot, 21 is the world in the major arcana, which represents coming full circle with something, but also coming to the realization that we might be a bit fixed or stuck in our ways. First Breath and Beginner's Mind is a reminder to stay curious, stay awake, stay aware. If it feels as though you're just hitting a brick wall over and over and over again, maybe you feel like other people are blocking your efforts. Maybe you feel like no matter what you do, your efforts just come to nothing. Beginner's Mind says, stop for a second and approach the situation as if you've never seen it before. Approach it with curiosity. Ask yourself, how can I see my life or whatever situations that I'm stuck in? How can I see this differently? Perhaps through somebody else's eyes. It might be a time to ask for advice from someone else, but truly this points in a direction of you needing to shift your focus away from, oh yeah, I already know that. Oh yeah, been there, done that, to maybe I don't know. Maybe there is something that I need to learn here. So if at any point in your life or in a particular situation, you came to this decision where you were like, oh, I already know that, or I've completely mastered that. There's an element of kind of being ahead of yourself as far as thinking that you get it when actually you don't quite get it. Now, I know that probably sounds vague, but this is what my guides are asking me to say is, stay open, stay curious, and if you feel like you just keep going in circles around one particular issue or topic, that means that you actually don't get it yet, and there's something new for you to see. So approach it like a child, approach it like an uncarved block, and that's where you're going to find your answers. And so for a final little piece of advice from your guides and angels, Spirit team, please tap us into the collective of my pile number ones and anything else they need to know about their past lives and what's following them through this life. Tap me into my collective of my pile number ones and whatever they need to hear to live their best life. Oh, wonderful. At the bottom of the deck, we have patience and planning. This is a card that talks about how sometimes, like I was saying a minute ago, we get ahead of ourselves. We think we understand something, or perhaps we're so excited for the final result that we have a lot of impatience in the here and now. Patience and planning says, for you guys, the best thing that you can do to really complete this karmic chapter and live your best life so that you don't have to repeat these lessons in the next life, best thing you can do is slow down. Every minute of every day, bring yourself back to the breath. Take some deep breaths. Look around at the environment around you. Slow down. For some of you, you're stuck in your head because you're either depressed or you are looping around the past. Feelings of regret, feelings of frustration, feelings of, being so stuck in whatever happened in the past that you're not present in the moment. For some of you, this card represents that you're too stuck in the future, that you have anxiety and you're planning things that haven't even happened yet. And so in your brain, in your awareness, you're months ahead, you're years ahead, and you're forgetting to be here now. So patience and planning means take things one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and remember that if things feel like they're moving too slowly, then it's an opportunity for you to pause and reflect, observe your environment, and think to yourself, is there anything else I'm supposed to notice right now? Is there anything at all that I'm supposed to pay attention to or perhaps learn from right now? And sometimes it's just a matter of learning, take a deep breath and be present in the moment. But for some of you, it means that there is additional information that you need to be aware of. And if you're not present, if your eyes aren't open, your mind isn't open, your heart isn't open, then you're going to miss so much useful stuff in this present moment because you're stuck in the past or you're way ahead of yourself in the future. So I hope that makes sense to you. And the final input from your guides and angels to help you move forwards is seek balance. Seek balance. This is also associated with the Justice card. We're using the Psychic Tarot here today, and in this deck they call number 11 balance. So 11 is also a number of initiation and completing some sort of level. That there is this, definitely it is the last lifetime for you that you're going to have to deal with this particular set of issues. Everything is available to you as far as opportunities, as far as learning moments. Everything is available to you in the here and now to see your situation more clearly. But like I said, I keep getting this message that you're either stuck in the past or you're thinking too much about the future. The answer is going to come when you find that balance of learning from the past and planning for the future, but being here now. So whatever you can do, whatever you can do to integrate some sort of mindfulness exercise in your daily life, meditation is incredible. Very hard to get started, but you can start with guided meditations and work your way up to just kind of sitting in a traditional meditation way. But meditation, 15-20 minutes a day, is going to change your life if you don't do it already. And if you find meditation really hard, like I said, try guided meditation. Maybe try yoga or some sort of movement inspired somatic exercise for you. But the balance card also has all 4 elements pictured: earth, air, fire, and water, indicating that this is a great opportunity for you to, instead of being so narrow-minded or single-minded in your focus, pause and think, where is my life out of balance? When we think about balance and we think about it in the context of all 4 elements, for example, fire, do you have enough joy or inspiration in your life? As far as water, are you emotionally healed? Are you emotionally in touch with the people in your lives? And is your cup empty or full right now? As far as pentacles and earth, how's your health? Are you looking after your health, or are you neglecting your health because you always have to work and you're always on the go? And the last one is swords. How's your mental health? Is your headspace a safe space? Are you communicating in a way that expresses your highest aspirations, or do you communicate and think in a way that reflects all the things that you're grumpy about? So definitely an invitation to seek balance in your life, and embrace a more well-rounded experience in this lifetime instead of being too narrow-minded or too focused on one particular thing. Definitely an implication to be here now and open your eyes to see what you might be missing out on. So I hope that was fun for you guys. If you enjoyed your reading, please make sure to give a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe for all my future videos. And if you ever want to book a private reading with me, you can do so at my website, www.queenbeetarot.net. Bye guys. Mwah. Hi Pile 2, welcome to your reading. You chose the turquoise today, and the first cards that we have showing who you were in a past life are from the Everyday Witch Tarot. I was actually asked to pull these 2 cards. They came out together. I asked my guides if we were keeping both, and they said yes. So I'm very interested to see what your cards are. Are you ready? Ooh. Okay, we have the High Priestess and the Lovers. So the Lovers, pretty self-explanatory card, but I do want to point out that the Lovers card represents a really beautiful, beautiful close connection. That could be a soul buddy, a soul mate. It could be a really close friend. It could be a lover. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner, although that is implied with the title. But this card is about balance and harmony. It's about feeling as though we are able to learn from any contrast in our lives, contradicting opinions, opposing perspectives. This card represents that in your past life, you were really open-minded. You loved loving. You loved talking to people. You loved the lively exchange of information and topics and perspectives, and you just soaked it all up like a sponge. And you weren't bothered or stressed out by people who didn't see the things the way that you saw them. You thought that was really cool. I'm being shown in my mind's eye, some of you guys were travelers. Some of you guys loved, I'm being shown boats, like sailing in boats across the ocean and exploring new places and learning new things. Some of you stayed put, and I'm being shown for some of you like the Vestal Virgins in the ancient temples, that some of you, as represented by the High Priestess here, didn't travel, but you stayed put and you absorbed new information, all kinds of new information, as you walked a path of spiritual practice or philosophical enlightenment. That your goal, all of you, your goal in your past life was to learn as much as you could, not only about the third dimensional reality that you were surrounded by, whatever information was available at that time, across all subjects, math, science, philosophy, everything. And all of you also had a vested interest in learning about the ethereal, the metaphysical, the spiritual, all that cannot necessarily be seen by the naked eye, but is just as real and just as valid as our tangible physical experience. So really, really cool. And you know what else is interesting is I'm not getting a sense that there was anything that you didn't master. I am definitely being shown that you guys, pile 2, mastered what you had to master in the last lifetime. And as a result, in this lifetime, you're not doing anything over. You are experiencing this particular lifetime as a fresh start, as a clean slate. So whatever karmic things you're experiencing in this lifetime, we're going to look at really quick. But I just want to say, in your past life, you really did walk your highest path. You learned absolutely as much as you could. And one of your favorite things was conversation with other people, sharing space with other people in a way that was open-hearted, perhaps even really vulnerable, that you definitely put yourself out there. You definitely had a life partner. You were definitely surrounded by love. You were surrounded by really smart, thoughtful people. And even when you were in the company of people who were vexatious, perhaps ignorant, perhaps just frustrating, or maybe lost in their own dynamic, you held space for them no matter what. In your last life, you were compassionate, you were intuitive, and you were incredibly wise. You were schooled in ancient texts, which points us in another direction as well, that you must have had some sort of status that allowed you to pursue knowledge, because, you know, not that long ago, and still to this day, if you come from a family that doesn't have money, 99% of the time you're going to be stuck in poverty. You're not necessarily going to be able to get a higher education or pursue philosophy or pursue the spiritual arts. Only people who have that status or that privilege were able to do that. So definitely behind these cards, we are seeing an indication that you did have some sort of status or privilege, allowing you to live this life in which you were just soaking up new information and then sharing and perhaps even transcribing that information for future generations. You were deeply in touch with your intuition. You may have been psychic, you may have been a healer, and one of your favorite things to do was to share that information or to share that spiritual energy with other people. I'm not getting the vibe that you were a traditional like Catholic or Christian priest or anything like that, because that sort of role did not include having lovers. I definitely see you as having had a lover, a partner, lots of close friends, lots of personal interactions. So definitely not a traditional religious dogmatic role, but definitely something that was very high in a path of spiritual enlightenment, philosophy, and learning as much as you could about the world, reading books, all of that stuff. Really, really cool energy, pile two. So with this deck, we are going to be taking a look at what is the flip side of that. It's very clear that you mastered whatever karmic experiences you had in last lifetime, and you're not carrying through into this lifetime any kind of do-overs, any kind of having to kind of relearn or attempt number 2 on anything. No, you guys came in with a fresh slate. So let's see what, Spirit Team, please tap us into the collective of my pile number 2. And what is the karmic lesson that they are focused on in this lifetime? So this is interesting. This is a big contrast. In your past life, we have the Lover's card showing that you had a lot of... Sorry, I'm going to wait a second for my neighbor's dogs to stop. In a past life, you had many lovers, many friends, many close relations. However, what I see in this lifetime is the Hermit. That in a lot of ways you feel alone. In a lot of ways you feel unsupported, perhaps even isolated. But what I do see in the Hermit card, is that you have continued your path of spiritual enlightenment. That the same energy carries through. I'd really rather not talk over the dogs, so I'm really, really, really hoping my neighbor makes those dogs stop barking. Even though you feel alone in this lifetime, you carried through into this lifetime the same energy of the desire to learn as much as you can, soak up as much information as you can, explore philosophy, explore spirituality, explore every subject around metaphysical or science or math. Your brain is just incredible. So you're definitely a very highly intelligent person. However, in contrast to the past life in which you felt supported and surrounded by love and lifted up, in this lifetime you feel very, very alone. And it's quite possible that that loneliness has been a really painful experience for you. And what I see in this contrast is that everything in life, in the universe, is balanced out. And, you know, for every day we have night. For every up we have down, right? For sun we have cloud. So you're experiencing the other side of that balancing scale. That now you're still embracing philosophy, spirituality, and all realms of soaking up knowledge and information. However, you're doing it alone. And the other thing that's happening is that you may find yourself, instead of being surrounded by love or encouragement in this lifetime, you might be finding yourself surrounded by darkness. You might be struggling to keep yourself afloat in the face of chaos, trauma, drama. Maybe just this third dimensional reality is really, really, really weighing you down in this lifetime. The other thing I'm getting from this Hermit card is that you're a very old soul. And there is a huge part of your soul that's a wee bit tired of this human experience. You're kind of like, I mean, Every single one of us chose to be here. We did. Even if it feels like life is completely shitting on us, we chose to be here. So there's definitely a reason that you're here. But I feel your soul is being tired. I feel your soul is being quite exhausted. But you came here with a very sacred mission, to hold the light for others who are stuck in the darkness. And so that is the path that you continue to walk. Underneath the Hermit, I also have the High Priestess, indicating that you may be working to share your intuitive or intellectual abilities with others. Perhaps you're working as a counselor or a therapist. Perhaps you're working as a psychic or a medium or something within the realm of intuitive arts. But definitely, you are still a holder of sacred information, old information. You might collect books. You might collect artifacts from previous generations. Definitely a sense that you don't exactly feel 100% comfortable in this modern age, that there's a part of you that feels like you would have been much more suited to be in a previous generation, 100 years ago or multi-hundred years ago. Definitely being told right now that you feel a bit out of place in this lifetime. Definitely an old soul plopped into a young body and feeling as though you are way ahead of your peers, or you just feel in a lot of ways like you don't belong. Sometimes the isolation indicated by the Hermit card has been chosen by you for your mental health, for your ability to explore your psyche, to heal, to grow, to learn. Sometimes it's been by choice, but there's also been many times in your life, in this lifetime, in which that isolation has not been by choice. And the lessons that you've had to learn from that are how to deal with conflict, how to deal with friction, how to channel your energy in a very wise and thoughtful, conscientious way. One of the biggest things you've had to learn in this lifetime is choosing your battles wisely. That there's this part of you that feels like you know better there, and maybe you've even been called a know-it-all, or you know what I mean, or maybe you're the mom or the dad of your group. You've got this parent kind of energy, but there's also a part of you that is an advocate for the underdog, and things like injustice or cruelty or things like that, they get you right riled up, right? And there's a part of you that wants to go to battle every single time you see something that is out of line or not honorable, right? And so in this lifetime, you've had to learn to conserve your energy, to dial it back a bit and really, really pick your battles wisely, to choose appropriate challenges that will help you grow as an individual, as opposed to wasting your energy in cycles of drama, in cycles of toxic behavior and stuff like that. So really, really interesting stuff coming through pile 2. Very cool. Now, what I wanted to ask our Shaman's Dream Oracle for you is, what is your highest path in this lifetime? Now that we know you're not doing any kind of a do-over from a previous life, we're going to ask the Shaman's Dream Oracle, what level of mastery did your soul get into in this lifetime? What did your soul want to experience in this life? Cool. Okay, number 37 from this deck, Magician's Sword. Confidence in your magic. It is really easy to be confident when you are surrounded by cheerleaders. When you have people around you who are like, yeah, you're awesome, you're doing great. It's really easy to be confident. But as we saw with that Hermit card, in this lifetime, you feel very alone quite often. And in that situation, it is harder for you to be confident in your magic because you don't have external validation. 99% of the time, nobody's cheering you on. Nobody sees what you're working on. Most of what you've worked on has been internal. You're like the silent hero, the ninja type who comes and goes, and most people have no idea what's going on inside of you. Not because you're well, what do I want to say here? I mean, you are a private individual, but what I want to say is that you don't go showing off. Look at this awesome thing I learned. Look how I'm leveling up karmically. That's not you. You're a grower, not a shower, right? So in this lifetime, what your soul wanted to learn and what you're in the middle of embracing and learning is to be confident in your own magic no matter what anybody else says. So that hermit energy, really strong for you. That you've come into this lifetime as an old soul, incredibly wise and powerful in many different ways, but you're not using that power to overtake anyone or to control anyone. You're using everything to just be a better human being, and that is showing. And even though you may have really struggled to see clearly in the beginning of your life, a sense that you were maybe just kind of fumbling your way through, definitely for the second half of your life, there is confidence, there's power, and a sense that you really are tuned in to not only your magic, but the magic of the universe and the collective energy around you. So really cool. I see you coming out of your shell. I see you showing leadership. I see you glowing with a really peaceful presence where you know yourself and you're not looking to prove yourself to anybody else. It's just that silent, calm confidence. So really cool energy, you guys. Very neat. And at the bottom of the deck, we have Whale Song resonating, showing that definitely pile 2, you guys are super tuned in. And your psychic gifts are definitely going to come through in different ways. Maybe you're an empath. Maybe you have really neat dreams. Maybe you talk to spirits. But keep up that spiritual development. If you're struggling in any way to see your own magic, then it's time to clear out your friends circle, maybe spend some time by yourself, but you are magical. You are a very old soul. Really cool energy, pile 2. So the last deck that I have here is the Psychic Tarot, and we're going to be taking a look at what final messages your guides and angels have for you today. As we close up your reading, Spirit team, please tap me into the collective of my pile number 2s and any final messages that they need to hear right now as far as this life's karma. Oh, that just kind of fell out. Anything else? So this is the Psychic Tarot. They have kind of renamed a lot of the major arcana cards, and we got the Hermit again. Really interesting. It's one of my favorite cards in the tarot deck, but in the Psychic Tarot they renamed it Solitude. And we have a woman who is holding a book. So keep up anything that you do in your life to protect yourself, to protect your heart, to protect your mental health, to protect your peace. Keep it up, because it is in that space by yourself that you are able to grow unencumbered by anybody else's opinions or judgment or anything like that. So spending time alone, you guys, pile 2, will always be where you find the truest answers deep in your soul. You recharge alone. You quite enjoy your own company, honestly, and it doesn't mean that you don't crave relationships. Every human being on the planet craves, a little bit of human relationships at the very least. But you're an old soul, you love hanging out with yourself, and you really grow a lot, you really learn a lot when you're by yourself. So the message that I have for you from your guides is it is much better to be alone and be happy than to be surrounded by people and feel alone and feel miserable. That's taken from a Robin Williams quote. Really amazing guy, bless his heart. I see you guys as really kind of struggling with that there's so many opportunities or situations in your life that you'd really love to be able to talk about what you're experiencing or share, and you're such an old soul that it's very hard for you to find peers in this lifetime. You may have people that are the same physical age as you, but as far as soul age, not many people as old as you guys. So Remember to protect your peace and protect your heart. We also have what is the Three of Cups. It is named Heartache and Loss here. Oh, I guess that would be Three of Swords. So the difficult experiences that you have had have brought you a great deal of awareness and understanding, but those swords will continue to pierce your heart if you don't get them off of your chest. There is a great deal of emotional intelligence that you have gained in this lifetime as a result of being either a loner by choice, not by choice. I'm being made to feel as though you've had a lot of challenging situations with other human beings in this lifetime. And as a result, you have limited how often you hang out with other human beings. You probably love nature, you probably love animals, but human beings, could take it or leave it kind of thing, right? So heartache and loss, Three of Swords, comes through when it is a reminder from your guides and angels to get it out, get it off of your chest. We gain emotional intelligence when we process our heartbreak and our loss. So either by writing, painting, singing, drawing, creating of some way, definitely your guides and angels are encouraging you to get it off your chest. We have all chosen to be in these physical forms in this lifetime. And so anything that you guys can do to take a step back from any potential victim mentality and just remind yourself, my soul needed this opportunity to grow in a particular way. And you are balancing out that element of absorbing information and being a guiding light in other people's lives, but without the validation that you had in a previous life. And so what that means is that you're simply getting stronger. You're getting stronger in who you are and what you know, and the peace that you're able to cultivate deep within. It's quite easy to be confident when we're surrounded by people who tell us how awesome we are. And you had that in your previous life, but because you don't have that in this lifetime, that is how you're leveling up. You're having to tell yourself that you're awesome. So do it every day. Look in the mirror and say awesome things to yourself. Tell yourself that you love yourself and you're awesome, and it'll help you feel better. So I do hope that reading resonated with you. If you liked your reading, please give a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for future videos. And if you'd like to book a private reading with me, you can do so at my website, www.queenbeetarot.net. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Mwah. Hi, Pile 3. You guys picked the Fluorite today, and we're going to be looking at who were you in a previous lifetime and whether or not any karmic lessons or challenges have followed you through into this lifetime. So our first card for you is from the Everyday Witch deck. Let's have a look. We have the Five of Wands. We have, pictured in this card, we have 5 people standing around a cauldron, and we definitely get a vibe from this picture that there's a bit of conflict, there's a bit of drama or arguing. Sometimes, like that phrase, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. That's the vibe of this card. In the traditional Rider-Waite, it's 5 children playing with sticks, and it could start off good and then go sideways really, really fast. The Five of Wands is about really powerful energy, but not necessarily knowing what to do with it. Sometimes that energy is wasted with drama or conflict, or trying to prove ourselves to other people, or seeking validation with other people. So in a previous life, you were a very, very busy person. You kept yourself surrounded by people, being made to feel that you definitely did not like being alone, but because of that, you allowed company in your life that wasn't always for your highest interest. And as a result, you found yourself surrounded by conflict and drama and challenges on a regular basis. For some of you, I'm feeling this whole like Italian grandmother kind of vibe. Some of you were cooks. Some of you were really, really invested in cooking, perhaps even coming up with like herbal medicines, concoctions. You were a kitchen witch, quite possibly. For some of you, you were a chef or working in a kitchen in a very traditional way. So we've got traditional kitchen as well as magical kitchen. And definitely you liked being on the go. You liked being busy, you liked having things to do. But there's a sense of, in your previous life, I don't feel like you mastered those lessons. 5 is a number of challenges and being stuck in a loop. So whatever was happening for you in a previous lifetime, you found yourself stuck in a loop as far as the challenges that you kept perpetually finding yourself in. And so as a result, in this lifetime, those karmic experiences, those karmic challenges, they've followed you through. So let's have a look at how those karmic challenges have followed you into this lifetime. Spirit team, please tap me into the collective of my pile number 3s. The fluorite stone. What kind of karmic lessons are they having to redo in this life? Okay. You guys are relatively young souls, and you've only had a few lifetimes, couple, handful, you know, I hate to put a specific number on it, but you're definitely younger souls. You haven't had heaps and heaps and heaps of experience being a human on this planet. I'm seeing you guys pictured as the Page of Pentacles, definitely indicating that youthful quality. And you very much so love being alive. There's a sense of really, really loving all that makes life delicious. You love being active. You love being surrounded by stimulation. You love learning things and playing and growing. A very Aries kind of energy, a very youthful exuberance coming through for you guys. 4 of Wands shows me that what you've carried over from the last lifetime, which was the 5 of Wands, now we see you as the 4 of Wands. You've eliminated that sense of circling around the same issues. And now in this lifetime, you've come to the understanding that grounded fire is far more healthy than spinning fire. So in this lifetime, you have found ways to keep your circle a little bit smaller. You're not wasting as much time in this lifetime with people who just always have drama or people who are just exhausting to be around. You're much, much more picky now in this lifetime. But it is a topic or a challenge that has come up for you throughout your life. And what you've had to put into practice is having to make those difficult decisions. Is this person adding to my quality of life, or is this person taking away from my quality of life? And so throughout at least the first half of your life, you're going to be going through these situations where you're having to make some hard choices about who you allow into your life. Now, it's possible in the very beginning of this lifetime that you carried that same energy from the previous lifetime of just wanting to be surrounded by people all the time. But as time went on and you start to step into adulthood and, you know, really gain your own maturity and sense of grounding, that you came to the realization, okay, quality as far as friendships is far better than quantity. So definitely I'm being told in your early 20s, there's an energy of really kind of being way more picky, thinning out your friends list, you know, on social media, or just being really, really choosy about who you spend time with, who you choose to interact with. 4 of Wands also indicates that you're learning to take that inner fire and use it to be productive, use it to be creative. No longer are you letting that fire or that challenge just kind of circle around in your chest and make you feel stressed out, which was a very stressed out energy in your past lifetime. In this lifetime, you're embracing creativity. You're embracing grounding and calming exercises. Maybe you participate in sports, maybe you do yoga, maybe you make creativity a part of your everyday life. Definitely a very creative, active energy. Four of Wands is also associated with the Emperor, associated with Aries, getting a lot of fire energy, fire element energy from you guys. So pile 3, the other cards that I have for you as far as how your karmic lessons have evolved and what shape they're taking in this lifetime, we also have the Ace of Wands and the King of Swords. So the Ace of Wands, again, more fire, is about empowering yourself and giving yourself that validation that you need. It's a very, very strong, powerful energy behind the Ace of Wands. And it is a new beginning. Sorry about my neighbor's dogs. In this lifetime, you're experiencing a new beginning when it comes to channeling your fire. That you've got a much more healthy way of either holding yourself back or checking yourself when you feel like you're kind of overextending, or maybe even starting to notice in this lifetime when your fire burns other people as opposed to being gentle warmth. Now, when I see the King of Swords has a very like, what kind of energy? The King of Swords says, I already knew that, whatever, you're wrong. It's a very argumentative energy. Now, the King of Swords represents mastery of the intellectual realm, and the most positive expression of this card is either being like college educated or a master of your trade or your craft. Definitely an energy of learning a lot of stuff. You are brilliantly smart, but what you kind of struggle with in this lifetime is not being as open-minded as you could be when it comes to other people's perspectives or opinions or simply ways of looking at things. The way that you look at things is very black and white, yes or no. It's either the right way or the wrong way to do things, right? And what you struggle with is the gray area. You struggle with anything that kind of contrasts your personal perspective of life, the universe, and everything. And your first reaction, if somebody says something that you don't agree with, your first reaction is no. So that's a bit of a karmic challenge for you. What you're learning to do, though, is you're learning to observe. You're learning to just listen. And even if you don't necessarily agree with someone, you're leaving in your past life, you're leaving behind that energy of arguing and fighting and contrast and no, 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 no. And you know what I mean? Those arguments or disagreements that can go on for hours and people end up like yelling at each other or just like talking in circles. That was your past life. And if you recognize that that's something you've done in the first half of your life, that totally makes sense because we carry that energy through into our current life. But there's this turning point in your early to mid 20s where you start to recognize that there's always going to be another way of looking at things. There's always going to be somebody out there who sees things differently. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. We can hold space, we can be good listeners, even if we disagree with someone. So you are embracing intellectual mastery. You are learning how to pick your battles wisely, and you're learning to channel any excess fire energy that you have into being productive or creative. So really, really cool. So let's look at our next deck is the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And what we're going to ask this deck is, what is your soul hoping to master in this lifetime? What did your soul want to learn, want to master, want to grow from in this lifetime? What is the focus of your soul's journey? Spirit team, please tap us into the collective of my pile number 3s. What is their soul's journey in this lifetime? Okay. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Will-o'-the-Wisp. One of my favorite people in the world has a new Instagram account because they are an author, and that's what this makes me think of. So the Will-o'-the-Wisp, treasures hidden in the shadows. This card at the bottom of the deck is indicating that there's this new awakening happening for you in this lifetime. That King of Swords energy is a very like, well, I read it in a book, I studied this in school, therefore I know this to be true. Whereas the Will-o'-the-Wisp energy is, I feel it. I sense it. And even if I don't have a name or a label or a category, I know this feeling, I know this sense to be true. So in this lifetime, your ability to understand and comprehend is moving beyond the logical and the practical and moving into the metaphysical and the ethereal. But this is new for you, right? And as you start to slowly open up to different ways of looking at things and different ways of thinking about things, we have mindful, group think. So what's happening is you're slowly starting to connect with people who challenge your way of thinking, but in a way that opens up your mind and makes you curious. You're less reactive. You're less likely to go, whatever, you're wrong. That doesn't make any sense, or that sounds ridiculous. And now you're starting to go, I've never heard that before, but it's really intriguing. And even though I don't know anything about it, I kind of want to learn about it. So what we're seeing is that your soul is really excited in this lifetime to connect with people. Sometimes it's going to be serendipitous, coincidental encounters with a random person on a bus who says something and it changes your life. All the way to, away from like stranger connections to connecting with friends or maybe even lovers that really open up your mind and help you see beyond the physical into the metaphysical and beyond. So your soul is excited in this lifetime to connect with people that not only challenge your way of thinking, but open up your mind to thinking in a completely new way. And the other card that I have for you, the farther gate, bold step forward. Your soul is going to master the lessons of conflict and having a closed mind at times. That's been wrapping up in the beginning half of your life. And by the time you finish this lifetime, it's a very I feel this energy of like almost like someone graduating from high school and moving on to college. Your soul, even though you are a relatively young soul, you're embracing maturity in this lifetime like you never have before. And the energy that you are going to complete this life with is a sense that you have leveled up and you're on to incredibly cool things in your next life. So moving away from fire and challenge and obstacles into a wider awareness of the universe, life, and everything. So for you guys, pile 3, as you move through this lifetime, if you find that your way of thinking about things or your way of perceiving or looking at things is being challenged, take it as an invitation for your soul to grow and learn. That it's those funky people that offer you a perspective that you've never heard before, that are going to show you the way for your soul to grow by leaving these little breadcrumbs of questions and information. So stay curious, and I see really cool things happening for you in this lifetime. So the final card we have is from the Psychic Tarot. As we wrap up this reading, Spirit Team, please tap us into the collective of my pile number 3s and any final messages that they need to hear right now. Okay, we have positive movement forward, also known as the 8 of Wands, which is, just like I was saying, it's learning, it's growing, it's evolving. Like there's a lot happening for you in this lifetime. The final message from your guides and angels is you create your own reality. You spent the first half of your life learning what already is and trying to put yourself into a place of integrating with what already is. But as you grow older and as you move into the second half of your life, there's going to be more of an understanding of having mastered what already is and moving towards growing in a way that has never been explored or defined or done before. Rather than feeling like you did in the first half of your life and in your previous lifetime, like life was just happening to you and you had to kind of figure it out, in the second half of your life, your soul is going to evolve and grow, realizing that you are a conscious creator. And much like graduating from high school and moving into university or college, you're going to realize that you are able to carefully craft and co-create with spirit whatever kind of life you want. That includes taking responsibility for your mindset, for your choices, and for your surroundings, and also taking responsibility for how you personally affect the world around you, and how you affect the people around you. There's a much more grounded energy as you wrap up this lifetime. Creativity, the name of this card is fertility, that you are birthing something new and you realize that you are able to birth something new. The realization that you can create your reality, it's going to blow your mind. So I see you really elevating your experience and leveling up in a huge way in this lifetime. So definitely leave behind any drama and move towards opening your mind and staying curious. So I hope that reading resonated with you. If you liked your reading, please give a thumbs up and like this video, and make sure to subscribe so you're tuned in to all my future videos. And if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can do so on my website at www.queenbeetarot.net. Mwah! Have a great day, you guys. Bye. Hi Pile 4, welcome to your reading. You chose the Amethyst Heart, and the first card that we have for you today is from the Everyday Witch Tarot. We are looking at who were you in a previous lifetime, and what sort of karmic lessons, karmic challenges are you working on in this lifetime. So, in a previous lifetime, we have the Two of Cups. Now, what we have pictured here is a couple having a drink by the beach, and the center of the image is that they both have what appears to be a wine glass, and they're doing like a cheers. This is a beautiful card. It represents heart-centered relationships, and it represents a preference to have interactions on a one-on-one basis. So in your previous lifetime, you loved to love, and you didn't really like being in large crowds. Even in this lifetime, you might have a carryover of that you're either an introvert, or you can get overwhelmed by too much stimulation. Maybe you just don't like large crowds, or maybe it's a lot of noise really bothers you. I'm also picking up on you being an empath, that one of the most sensitive things that you have is that you feel other people's feelings, and maybe you're aware of it, maybe not, but that sense of picking up on other people's feelings or vibes or energy makes it very hard for you to be surrounded by large groups of people, because there's so much that you're picking up on, right? So in a previous lifetime, I see you as somebody humble. You were a helper, you were a healer, you were emotionally available to those that were in your life. I don't see you as having had status or riches or a grand lifestyle. That you were humble, you were peaceful, and you loved your simple life. You didn't want more. You just wanted to be loved and wanted to love people and just know that you were loved in return, right? Now, the thing about the Two of Cups is it does represent when we are so good at holding space for other people that sometimes we sacrifice our own well-being in order to hold space for somebody else. That this card indicates that you were a helper, you were a healer, but quite often you got taken advantage of. That you gave and you gave and you gave, and you didn't always get much back in return. So in your past life, you may have finished that life feeling depleted, feeling used, feeling taken advantage of. But in your heart of hearts, in the core of your energy and your spirit, you are a helper, you are a healer, and you're very emotionally tuned in. People might call you sensitive, but as an empath or a psychic or anything along those lines, your sensitivity is a gift. So if that is something that has come up for you in this lifetime, being called too sensitive or anything like that, try and shake it off. I know it's hard, but try and shake it off. Your sensitivity is a gift. So we're going to be looking at this deck of reversals here. And I'm going to credit the author of this deck at the end of the reading. I just completely forgot who it is. But this particular deck, what we're going to be looking at is how has that experience from your previous life carried over into this life. Okay. So, the way in which you held beautiful, compassionate space for other people in your previous life, but did not always get your needs met, and quite often you were taken advantage of, that heartache, that sense of grasping for the love and the support and the validation that you gave other people, that carried over. And the way that you experienced it, especially as a young child, is that you were called too sensitive, you were called too emotional. You still held out your hands and you still held out your cup in the exact same way that you did in your previous life. And so there's a sense of repeating a lot of those same lessons in the first half of this life. That you would be a helper, you would be a healer, but when you needed help or healing, nobody to be found. And so when I see the Page of Cups here, that tells me that especially as a child, you were called sensitive. You may have been deeply in touch with animals or the arts, a really soft and flowing energy, but very emotional and very heart-centered. And you still to this day wear your heart on your sleeve. You can't help but hide it, and you're not the type of person to really hide it, but what you've started to do in this lifetime that's a potential negative direction to go in is that in a harsh and often cold and cruel world, it is very hard to stay soft. It's very hard to stay sensitive. And so as a result, in this lifetime, you've done your best, represented by the King of Pentacles here, you've done your best to surround yourself or to fill that hole in your heart. Maybe you're a workaholic. Maybe you collect things that remind you of stuff. But maybe your life is really, really cluttered. It is also possible that the way that you've dealt with your sensitivity and softness is that you either overindulge in food, sex, drink, drugs, just to kind of cover up your sensitivity because you don't really know what else to do about it. Especially if people have called you too sensitive, then there's this sense of trying to crawl into a shell and hide your sensitivity. So definitely a sense of like tapping in too much in this lifetime to physical things, hoping to meet spiritual and emotional needs. And so if that resonates with you, I invite you to kind of take a step back and think about, okay, how am I trying to fill a spiritual or emotional hole with physical things? With money, with stuff, with food, with people, with drinking, with drugs. How are you potentially trying to meet these fifth dimensional needs with third dimensional things, right? And so the Four of Cups here tells me that you're still struggling with a level of emotional exhaustion and not really knowing how to ground yourself out. What your soul needs right now to complete this whole karmic lesson is to set and enforce some emotional boundaries around yourself. Put yourself first. Fill your cup first before you try to fill anybody else's cups. And if you have people in your life that call you too sensitive or make you feel as though there's something wrong with you, you need to kick them out of your life for your own sanity and for your own well-being. If you have haters, if you have vexatious people, if you have toxic, dramatic people in your life, set some serious boundaries. The Four of Cups tells me that there is a need for emotional grounding and stability, and the only way that's ever going to happen in a healthy way is that if you create it for yourself, and boundaries are going to be a huge part of that. If you are trying to meet your spiritual and emotional needs with physical things, that's got to change. If you're a workaholic, if you're struggling with any kind of addictions, this is definitely one of those reality check moments where you have to kind of take a step back and go, okay, how am I trying to compensate for something that is intangible, like a broken heart or lack of emotional safety in my life? How am I trying to compensate that with this brick wall around me saying, I'm fine, I'm good? The Page of Cups here tells us that if you heal your inner child, the rest of your life will start to sort itself out. Just like if I was going to weed my garden, I wouldn't pick the top of a weed. I would want to pull the whole root, right? So when I see the Page of Cups, that tells me that in this lifetime, there's a strong connection between your childhood and repeating themes that carried over from your previous lifetime. And again, that's about being called too sensitive. It's about being psychic, empathic, and not knowing what to do with that information that's coming through. Maybe you tried to share your psychic or empathic gifts and you were told that you were wrong or weird, and you started to kind of shut yourself off and hide behind this facade. Your sensitivity is a gift. And what we see throughout the past lifetime and this lifetime is that the more you gain the confidence and the authority to say, this feels good, therefore it's allowed in my life, and this does not feel good, it is not allowed in my life. So that has to do with people, situations, jobs, friends, lovers, strangers. Cherish your soft spirit. Cherish your soft heart. Nurture all that makes you sensitive and soft, and create a boundary around yourself that allows you to say no to anything and everyone that makes you feel like garbage. The Hierophant at the bottom of the deck here, as well as the Queen of Swords, tells me there's this lovely, lovely quote. Before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not in fact surrounded by assholes, right? Queen of Swords says that in order to preserve your mental health, you need to lay some serious boundaries, right? Draw the line. And the Hierophant coming through tells us that you are the highest authority in what is best for you. So the less that you seek external validation and instead feel yourself and nurture your heart, validate your emotions, fill your cup first, and then it's going to be really, really clear where and when your cup is either being filled or emptied in this lifetime. So stay soft, but just have really strong boundaries. So your soul asked to come here in this life. And even though you're experiencing a bit of a do-over from lessons from a previous life, you do have things that you're working to master in this lifetime. So let's look at your soul's path of growth in this lifetime. Spirit team, please tap me into the collective of my pile number 4s and their soul's growth in this lifetime. How is their soul going to grow and evolve? Yes. Okay, at the very bottom of the deck, we have empty well, time to replenish. That's exactly what I was talking about. You need to fill your cup. You are going to be perpetually lost if you're always out there in the world looking for someone or something to fill your cup. It's a wrong place to look. You have to come back to yourself and go deep within and fill your own cup. The empty well comes up. It says time to replenish. This comes up when you're spent. So in whatever way, and I'm so sorry for my neighbor's dogs. Just gonna give them a second to stop. The joys of recording outside, but I do love this beautiful day. So when I see the empty well, time to replenish, that means you're spent. And that tells me that not only in your previous lifetime, but also in this lifetime, you just give. You give and you give and you give and you give. And if somebody doesn't like you, you'll give more, hoping that they'll like you. And chasing love, chasing validation, chasing a sense of belonging is only going to empty your well. The most important, the most useful thing that you can do in this lifetime is really, really, really open your eyes to any people or any situations in your life that drain you, that empty you of your life force. Instead of trying to share your love, your emotional availability, your life force with the world around you, this card is a wake-up call. It says, whoa now, take a step back. Pull back your efforts, pull back your energies, pull back your boundaries, and come back to center. And make filling your cup your number one priority right now. And when you do that, everything else in your life is going to change. That is the karmic completion that your soul needs in this lifetime. Fill your cup, fill your well first. The other thing that your soul was hoping to learn and accomplish in this lifetime, we have eyes of the eagle rising above the fray. Because you are such a heart-centered person and you care so deeply about the people around you, friends, strangers, you care about everybody. You might really benefit from reading this incredible book. It's got a lot of profanity in it, but it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. You, my friend, give too many fucks. And what your soul is in the middle of learning in this lifetime is, number one, how to only give fucks when it's important. Number two, how to rise above, how to see the bigger picture. You get so lost in caring about other people that you forget to care about yourself. And you also forget that some people need to learn how to sort themselves out. You can't fix everyone, you can't heal everyone, and you certainly can't love everyone. You only have a certain amount of love to give, and the first person on that list needs to be yourself. Give yourself that love first. Give yourself that healing first. And then from a place of being healed and full, then you can go out into the world and be a little bit more picky about where you share your beautiful heart. You have such a beautiful heart. You got to protect it at all costs. So eyes of the eagle rising above the fray means that in this lifetime, you're going to learn how to kind of take a step back and see the bigger picture. Meditation would help you, mindfulness, journaling, and perhaps even counseling for sure. And the final deck we're going to use today is the Psychic Tarot. We're going to ask your guides and angels if there's any final advice or guidance that they have for you before we close this reading. Spirit team, please tap me into the collective of my pile number 4s. And any final words of advice or guidance that they need to hear right now in relation to their karmic journey. Okay. You are your own worst enemy. Nobody has such critical eyes towards you. Nobody's judging you, your appearance, your life nearly as hard as you are. You are your own worst enemy. And sometimes to distract yourself from the issues that you're dealing with, you jump out there into the world and you try and help that person and solve that person's problems and be present for that person. And it's all kind of running away from how you don't feel entirely safe in your own heart or in your headspace. So because you are your own worst enemy, recent financial challenges have shaken your self-confidence. And you've come back to this place of, okay, well, if I create my own reality and I'm really struggling right now, does that mean I deserve to struggle? And your guides and angels want you to know that you're looking into things way too deeply, that the best thing you can possibly do is love yourself unconditionally. No matter how successful or unsuccessful you are, love yourself unconditionally. Stop worrying about other people's problems. Take a step back and see what you can do to love yourself. So we have love begins, the Ace of Cups, which is that there's a huge emotional release that you're about to go through. You're going to be processing some stuff from your childhood, all these feelings around validation or lack of validation, imbalance as you reflect on how much love you give versus how much love you get back, and the concept of conditional love. Maybe you were taught as a child that you will only be loved, you will only be worthy if you do something to earn it. And let me tell you, only humans that have only humans are so focused on conditional love. But in the grand scheme of things, in the eyes of God, the universe, spirit, the force, you are always unconditionally lovable, and you always have been. You are unconditionally worthy, and you always have been. So instead of trying to chase validation from other human beings that are very, very much so lost in their own drama and their own karma, take a step back, my dear. Fill your cup. Dump out that heavy weight of expectations that you carry from other people, perhaps your parents, your caregivers, the people that you're surrounded by in your life right now. Dump it all out. Maybe you need a really, really good cry. Maybe you need to punch a punching bag or scream into a pillow or do some wild finger painting or something. Maybe ecstatic dance. Your heart is full of a lot of stuff that needs to be like released. So whatever your preferred method of emotional release is, that's your first step. Okay. When you struggle financially, it is not a sign that you are in any way unworthy. It is often situations outside of your hands. It is an opportunity to come back to how can you use your gifts, your natural sensitivity, your natural perceptiveness, or perhaps even psychic abilities. You are a healer, you are a doer and a fixer and a lover at your core. So if you've been struggling financially, it is quite possibly an opportunity for you to rethink your approach to employment, finances, maybe even self-employment. If you've been struggling physically with your health, it is a huge sign that you are giving your life force away too much and not claiming enough for yourself. The final message from your guides and angels is actually the Nine of Pentacles, which is named Material Harvest. There's a huge financial windfall coming for you very soon. And it's going to come around the same time that you have this like awareness of, oh, the more I chase, the more I'm always in pursuit. But if I focus on myself, I fill my cup, I channel my God-given gifts, I can be like a flower and the bees will come to me. The flower does not chase the bee comes to the flower. So when I see the Nine of Pentacles, there's something about having a moment where it clicks, where you see yourself as unconditionally worthy and unconditionally lovable, and then you hold space for yourself the way that you've always held space for other people, and that's when everything changes and turns around in a really positive direction. So love yourself first. I hope that helps. I hope it resonated. Make sure to give a like and a thumbs up if you liked your reading today, and please subscribe so you're updated with all my future videos.